I don't have time as a sales objection is nothing more than a polite way of telling someone you are not worth my time, I don't see enough value for myself, I hope you stop bothering me anymore. It may hurt, but it is what it is. Prospects often come up with this excuse because, taken literally, it has nothing to do with you. It's not personal. It's easy to say, explain and understand. That's why I don't have time is one of the most common sales objections you will hear when making a cold call and trying to set an appointment with a new prospect. In this video, we'll go a little deeper into the analysis of the cause and focus on that what's really relevant, not just on the shallow facade of the problem and meaningless words. I want to give you something more than a worthless advice and tips on what to say, which can be found everywhere on YouTube but don't really work, something more profound. In this video, the best way how to handle time objection in sales. My name is Paweł, I've been in sales for over 15 years. I built a network of contacts and sales from scratch several times in my career in European market for companies operating in industrial sector. If you are looking for real information and sales advice, please subscribe and let's get started. If your prospect says that he has no time, I don't know, tomorrow, next week or next month, but he is generally open to meet you in the near future, it's okay. The problem is when he has no intention of doing it and it's just a small screen. But to be honest, it's really nothing personal. Usually it doesn't even have anything to do with the product you offer. Simply, it's not your prospect priority. It's very common that people who are professionally involved in sales processes feel that the meeting will change nothing and it's only the waste of their time. But the most important thing is if you can do something about it. First of all, making a cold call, it's your job to demonstrate value at the very beginning of conversation and prove you are worth prospect time. The key is understanding your client's value system and his needs. When you ask for a meeting and you hear I don't have time, it's just a polite statement, you are not a priority right now, I don't really know if I need what you have. So before you do that, do everything what possible to not hear these words. This is where you should focus your attention, not on what to answer. When you hear I don't have time, it's usually too late to change the course of the conversation, at least in that moment. Experience taught me that it's better to try again later rather than to prove your prospect that he's making a mistake. And honestly, if you try whatever you say, you will usually end up looking like someone who's desperately looking for an opportunity to sell his crappy product. And this is counterproductive and low value behavior. That way you show that you don't have any other better options and you put yourself in a very weak position. Your client can easily assume that if you care so much, probably nobody wants your product, so it probably has no value whatsoever. Do you remember the last time you planned to buy something nice? It could have been a new car, apartment, or anything else. If someone called you in that time, let's say an expert in that particular field, and asked for a meeting to discuss all pros and cons, would you be willing to accept this invitation? You probably wouldn't need a time to think. Even in the moments of the greatest intensity of workload and loads of duties, no matter how busy you are, you would find time. Fear of making a wrong decision, the desire to avoid making a mistake or saving money force you to make time. Making a cold call, you have to prove that you are not a random salesman that's trying to sell his shitty product that nobody wants. And you have legitimate reasons to bother someone by calling and asking for attention. Only when your prospect believes the value you provide, he will make time for you. But personally, if someone calls me and immediately promises, for example, a 20% reduction in the cost of running of my business, or, I don't know, a significant increase in profits or helping in getting new clients, what does he do? Shows value? I don't think so. In my eyes, he looks like a fraud and I immediately suspect it's a scam. You cannot promise someone in the real world similar things without knowing their situation after a minute of conversation and hope that a reasonable person with commercial experience will believe you. Such declarations nowadays don't build trust. On the internet or YouTube video, it may seem like it makes sense, but not in the real world. Sorry, if you still believe that, you have to wake up. It's not live fake cold call where similar bullshit works, unless you are talking to a very naive or gullible person. But we are talking here about real business where you deal with top players in your industry and generally where integrity matters. You might ask me right now, okay, so how I should show the value of my business proposal? First of all, don't put pressure on your prospect into buying your products and services. And yes, I know you have probably heard opposite advice all your life. But to show value, you have to start with yourself first. You must emanate value. You cannot look like a desperate salesman who wants to close the sale at all the costs, and this is how you look like when you start promise wonders to someone you have just met. If you decide to call someone, you probably have a product that you sell to a similar target group. If you are just starting work in sales and haven't built any track record yet, most likely your colleagues have done it before. In other words, if someone sold a similar product to a customer with a similar business profile like your prospect and he was satisfied with the purchase, this is enough reason for you to ask for a meeting. You don't need any other more sophisticated reasons and promise anything. The only thing you need to be sure is that the client understands what you offer and it's mainly about not wasting your own time. You don't want to meet with someone who can't buy your product. Serious and successful sales consultants respect their time. When you go to a specialist, let's say a doctor or a lawyer, you don't expect that you can just like that walk in off the street. You have to make an appointment and probably wait in line. Start by respecting and using your own time properly and others will begin to do so as well. What does it mean? That you have to create your own reality in that way that you always have many potential buyers for your products and services. Notice how your behavior changes when you know that you can offer something very valuable. If you want to give someone, let's say, $1,000 for free, will you be disappointed if someone says no and will refuse to accept your gift? Of course not. You know that there are hundreds of others who will be very happy if you choose them and they will thank you for that. And exactly, success in sales means to adopt this mindset. It will change everything if you truly believe that your time is as important as your prospect. I am aware that people expect to hear simple answers. I guess most viewers would like to get a list of ready-to-use lines in the case they hear this sales objection and fire the guns when the time comes. But this is a very shallow approach. Any sophisticated lines will camouflage neediness that hides behind fine words. The truth is that people can read a lot in the tone of voice and the way of speaking. This is what decides in the first place whether you hear the sales objection or not. Next time making a cold call, observe how your effectiveness changes depending on how you feel. How your inner game affects the client reacts to your words. Changing the way you think and how you feel has a decisive impact on how effective you will be dealing with objection in sales and how often you will hear, "I don't have time." Your mindset is a game changer. Confidence felt in your voice, greater empathy, and self-esteem will immediately start to attract people and you will start to say the right things and you won't need any sales script. The point is to convey non-verbally. I'm busy, you are busy, I respect your time equally as my own. And if I wouldn't be sure that we can do business together, I wouldn't be called. If you show in a smart way that you not only value your prospect's time, but above all your own, believe me, you won't hear these words again. And even if it won't be a common sales objection, but a question of logistics that can be easily resolved. The most important thing is to be able to proactively build your state when you're making a call. I know what that sounds like, but there's no other way. All the rest of the advice is just a next smoke screen, which may sound nice, but don't really work. The truth is, if you learn how to express non-verbally, that your time is value and you can bring value to your prospect life, clients will start asking you for an appointment and the only thing you will be worried about is limited space in your calendar and paradoxically not enough time to meet in person with each new client. Believe it or not, but it is what it's all about. At the end of the day, the goal is that your client should ask for your time, not you. Making a call, you might feel the urge to spout off a list of product features, to address those priorities. But it won't help you. What really matters is your prospect. The more opportunities he has to discuss his goals, the longer he will stay on the line, the better your chances to understand his needs. All this applies to B2B sales model, and that's where my focus is, because that's where my experience comes from. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please don't forget to like it and subscribe, and see you soon.